Well, after diplomats on both sides worked through the night, the U.S. and Russia have a deal on what's going to be done to rid Syria of its chemical weapons. Syria has 1 week to declare the size and location of its stockpile. The deal also plans to impose UN penalties if Assad's regime fails to comply. Earlier, I had a chance to talk with Senator Rand Paul and asked him if he thinks the U.S. is ceding its superpower status to Russia.
Well, I don't think we're in seventh grade, that it matters like, oh, we're winning, they're losing. I think what's most important is that we get the result we want, and the result would be that the chemical weapons are taken out of Syrian hands and put into international hands. If we get that, I'm not going to be one saying, oh, I did this and the president didn't do this. The president can take all the credit he wants. I don't think it really is about sorting out and giving credit to one side or the other.
Do you think, though, that we have this pause in military action against Syria at the moment because Russia and Syria were concerned about our military strike power, in the sense that they were concerned something was imminently going to happen, or did this happen due to incompetence by our own White House?
It's a little hard to tell whether it was on purpose or inadvertent. I would say that you can make a couple of arguments. You can make the argument that only with the threat of force would they have done this. But you can also make the argument, as I have made, that people like me who have slowed this process down and said military force is not a good idea, that if we'd have bombed them 3 weeks ago, we'd have had no chance for a diplomatic solution. So by deliberating, by coming to Congress, which is what the Constitution dictates, maybe we are going to get to a diplomatic solution. And I say maybe because I don't know yet.
Well, that leads me to the next question. How far can we really trust Putin, or Assad for that matter?
Well, I think that's a very good question. And I think diplomacy starts out with some trust, some distrust, and a great deal of watchfulness. So when Reagan went into diplomatic negotiations with the Russians, he said, trust but verify. I think that admonition still holds true.
Much is being said of President Putin's op-ed piece in the New York Times. What's your reaction to the way Putin lectured the United States, saying America is no longer the model of democracy today?
I think that there's a bit of irony there, but I think also that it doesn't behoove Russia to be tweaking us and lecturing us if they want to have a diplomatic solution. Ultimately, if you and I want to make an agreement and you and I are on opposite sides of the fence, if I call you a name and say, hey, in the past you've behaved this way, I don't think that's a good way to try to have diplomacy. So I don't think it has helped to move the ball along for him to have behaved this way in the editorial.
Do you think, though, if Putin emerges strong throughout this process, that it could embolden him to have a major influence in the region, particularly when it comes to helping Iran with its nuclear ambitions down the road?
I don't think it's a game for the schoolyard, and I don't think we're competing to say who looks or acts the strongest. America is the sole remaining superpower in probably every imaginable way. And I think that we are also a superpower in the sense that we reserve that power for only to use it reluctantly. And so, no, I don't fear Russia. I don't fear Russia having undue influence in the Middle East. I think really, though, we need to work together, all of us, to figure out a way out of a lot of vexing problems in the Middle East. And I don't think we should discount trying to get Russia to understand that it's in her self-interest to, try to get the civil war to end, try to get the chemical weapons out of Syria, try to talk Iran down from developing a nuclear weapon. All of those things are not only in our interest, but we need to convince Russia they're also in their interest as well.
What are you hearing right now about the opposition forces, the rebels on the ground there, who continually are asking for the U.S. support? They want more weapons there from the United States, and there are many people in Congress pushing for this. Do you think that should happen?
I'm very hesitant to give weapons to Al-Qaeda, al-Nusra, extremist elements of Islam. The Islamic rebels in Syria, the ones fighting against Assad, have shot and killed priests, have kidnapped 2 bishops of the Orthodox Church, have beheaded people on video, have also eaten the internal organs. There's some dispute whether it was liver or heart. I don't think it really matters what degree of atrocity when you're eating the organs of your opponent, whether it was heart or liver. But I do think that there's atrocities on both sides, and there's no clear-cut guarantee